Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to go over what's involved in removing and replacing a CVT Drive Belt on a 2017 Polaris RZR XP Turbo. This also applies to a lot of other belt-driven side-by-sides and ATVs. We're also going to touch on some of the main things you need to watch for when you have a vehicle that runs on a system like this. Hey guys, Adrenaline Junkie here with James the cameraman. We're just getting ready for a trip to West Virginia. We're leaving Wednesday morning. So the goal here is that everything seems to be fine with the RZR. We've done a good inspection of it. I just want to change the drive belt. There's 1,100 kilometers on the belt and it seems to be slipping a little bit from here and from, I just kind of noticed it wasn't right. So I have a OEM belt that I bought a while ago with the machine just in case I needed to swap it out. So we're going to pull this one out, keep it as a spare, and then put the new belt on for a trip to West Virginia. So we'll just fly through this. It's a really easy process, even at night on the side of the trail. You can check out one of our videos on that where we had a belt explode on the trail. This belt hasn't grenaded, but it's showing signs that it will soon. So what those signs could be is something like you hit the gas and it goes like, oh, or it hesitates, or you're in 4 low and you hit the gas and it doesn't rip, like it doesn't accelerate right away. Instead you can hear it kind of like go, ah, or like squeal or something, or if you feel the acceleration just isn't there like it used to be. A telltale sign that your belt's getting weak is when your belt gets hot. So if you get your belt really hot, you're ripping up and down the trail full blast, and then say you hit the gas on the road or on the trail and too high, and it hesitates, or it just doesn't pull or accelerate as hard as it used to, that means your belt's probably stretching out as it's getting hot, and it's gonna grenade soon. It's just inevitable. So the best thing to do is change your belt before it blows, because when they blow, sometimes the belt, like the pieces of it can get stuck in the sheaves. You might have to disassemble your clutches later, and in a really extreme scenario, sometimes it can even harm other components like the belt case as collateral damage. So here I got a little bit of a gear case I carry with myself on, well, this comes with the RZR on most of our rides. If we're going on a shorter local ride, usually it'll just stay in the truck because I can get back to camp pretty quick with someone else. But when we're going on longer rides up north, or if we're going to West Virginia into uncharted territory and we'll be out all day, where we're riding an hour or two one way, I like to bring some basic gear. It's nothing too fancy, but it's just some of the necessities. If you guys want more details on this, let us know in the comments and we can make a more detailed video. So right here, we have our OEM replacement belt with the price tag still on it. Oh, wow. I got ripped at my dealership here, and I mean, this is just the price they sell them for. Country of origin is US, so they're manufacturing these in the US. The regular price of this belt is $324.99. Woo. With my discount, it was $292.50. It's 300 bucks a rubber. So doing the belt replacement's really straightforward, or just getting in there to check up on things like you should do every once in a while. You're going to need an 8mm socket with an extension, preferably on a little ratchet, and a standard screwdriver. So I usually start by unscrewing the air hose. This is the intake for the CVT. This is the air rushes in through here to cool the belt-driven transmission. The biggest enemy of this belt is heat, and we make a lot of it. So you loosen that, should be able to top this too off. Doesn't matter how long you pressure wash it, everything's still full of mud.
Mud and dust.
Okay, so now with that out of the way, it's a pretty straightforward process of just unscrewing all these little annoying 8mm bolts. When you're tightening these up later, there's a nice seal inside of here. Make sure the seal is in place where it should be in its little channel. Make sure you don't over torque these. They go on really loose. The steel does all the work it needs to conform to the surface. These don't need to be torqued on too tight. You'll warp everything and break it. So there's a bunch of water pouring out of my belt case right now, but that's just because I just pressure washed everything so it runs down there. Usually during regular use you won't see that. I was just going crazy with the hose on this thing. You can see in real time that this thing's really easy to get to. Polaris makes this really easy to maintain. The belt is the heart of this machine. You can't do anything with that belt not functioning properly. Whether that means it's broken, stretched, worn, wet, something else is wrong. You can pay attention here. There's a little red plug. Let's say you sucked up some water or something bad happened and you were slipping your belt. What you would do on the trail is you would unscrew that. And you would rev the engine in neutral. And it'll blow out a lot of the water and debris there. And then after revving the engine in neutral for a minute or two to dry everything out, you can put that back on, and usually you should be good to go. Be careful not to over tighten that red plug. As you see, mine's only finger tight. It's not going to go anywhere. If you're working on this machine on the side of the trail doing this or something, and it's really dirty around the belt, you don't really have to worry too much. A little bit of dirt isn't going to really hurt anything inside of there. But if you are really messy putting it back together, make sure when you get back home, you take it apart again and make sure everything inside that belt casing is nice and clean. The components under this belt casing cannot get wet and submerged underwater. If they get wet because your belt casing fills up with water and then you drain it, you need to take it home and you need to inspect it and service it. There'll be corrosion and debris in places in the clutch that there shouldn't be, and it will lead to premature wear and failure down the road, and potentially much more collateral damage. Mostly pocketbook collateral, the worst kind.
The most painful kind?
Yeah, the expensive kind, yeah. So as you see, this has been a pretty straightforward task, no special tools. What, 5-6 minutes and it's off? Is that all of them, James? Did I miss any?
Oh.
So this is the worst part. There's like a secret way that you're supposed to like twist this and it comes off without like... See, what I usually do is I just unbolt the shock. But Dave the other day, remember he did it without removing anything?
Got it down, maybe.
Oh, my seal's broken. Look. In the CVT.
Oh.
I need to replace that when I get back. I got it. See, there's a seal.
Bring it.
Oh, hey.
Hey, dude.
Dalton. Dalton's making a TeamAJP stickers, right?
Yeah.
So you see here,
Okay.
we obviously have a broken seal around this. Luckily, it's near the top of the case, and we don't really do much deep water riding. See, there's see that water? You saw how I had water pouring out of the case under here? The reasoning behind that was when I pressure washed, the water must have leaked through here, gone down there. You can tell that's that's not water contamination from use because it would have been splashed everywhere. That just got in there from washing because my seal is broken. So if what I'm going to do is on Monday, tomorrow, I'm going to call the dealer and see if they have one of these. And if they don't, then we'll just fix it after West Virginia. It should be fine. So these are the things you need to pay attention to when you pull this off from time to time and service it. So we're missing that whole piece. When I put this back on last time, I was really careful to make sure I didn't damage that, but I guess I must have, or maybe it just
bumped and
maybe
torn.
something happened, or I don't know. It looks like there was a little bit of pressure on there. regardless, I'll just get a new seal. I'm sure it's not going to be.
Horribly expensive.
No, well then again.
It's a $1,200 seal.
And this is our magic tool. This is the tool you need to do the clutch on the 1000 or the turbo.
Magic tool.
This is my magic tool. Hey ladies, want to see my magic tool?
This is my special friend.
My mom says I'm cool.
So, now that we've got the belt case off and everything, we get our special, or in James's terms,
special
our magic
tool.
tool.
Magic tool.
And this just threads in here. What this is going to do is it's going to thread in and it's going to spread this secondary clutch to allow us to slide the belt off.
Spread them.
Spread them.
Spread them, baby.
It'll bottom out.
I know a lot about bottoming out. My car hits the ground all the time.
Different world, Dalton. In our world, we lift, we don't lower. Okay, I can see. You can see the clutch here, the belt riding down more.
Yep. It's gonna slowly just sink in there as you go.
Yep, it's sinking in now. There, it's pretty much. Yep. There, it's bottomed out.
Yep.
Now we should be able to slide that belt off.
Yeah, you can see it's let go of tension and everything. Easier said than done.
Yeah, they come off a lot easier when they're broken.
I got pliers. Side cutters.
Gonna go in a bit more. Didn't bottom out.
Oh, my knees.
So make sure you get this thing in there good so that you can get the belt off.
Yeah, that's a lot better.
Yeah, that'll come out easy now.
Oh boy.
Now pop it up this way. Gotta slide it out from underneath.
Congratulations, it's a belt. Ooh.
Well, I'm gonna slip over on that
I was gonna say, you want me to throw that out?
Oh, there she is.
Just give her back.
It wants to spin the other way.
There we go.
Ta-da!
Now you got a sweet chain.
So let's inspect this. Oh, there's some chunkage.
Chunkage. Yes, there is some chunkage.
I may have just caused that though. Let's look for cracks. We're starting to develop weak points. More. More cracks and breaks.
Yep. Probably all the places it stretches.
Right here, look at this one. It's separating
Yeah.
from the Kevlar. So all these little things add just a little bit more. I mean, how would you say it? They make the belt a little bit more loose, every single one of these. But when you add all these little things up, and when this thing heats up, you can tell this belt's gonna fail. See that one? There's another one. Here's this whole piece coming off. Here, these ones are
Ready to fall.
ready to fall. Let's see this side. Yeah, needless to say,
She's beat.
oh yeah. There's some scuff, like there's some stress marks in it there. Yeah, she's definitely ready for a replacement. So,
Good thing we got another one.
here's our belt, our $300 belt.
Yeah. How's that for size comparison?
So let's size them up. Yeah, this belt's a little stretched. You can see that when we follow these contours, this one is, I mean, we're probably not going to be able to see enough, especially like,
Yeah.
I think this really becomes a problem at temperature.
Oh yeah.
But look at the wear here. You can see there's visible wear on all those edges, like when you compare it to this new
Oh
belt.
yeah. They're thicker and healthy.
Yeah. And I mean, look at the side here. Look at the side here. That wears a bit too, because this is the taper is what slides down into the sheaths of the clutch. The whole point is this angle, this taper angle. So that's a healthy spare belt. So what we're gonna do is we'll put this baby back in here. You never ever want to bend a belt more than that, or kink it, or it's garbage. So we'll just slap this belt back in here. I'm gonna get a paint marker now, and I'm gonna write the mileage of the belt on here, so I know what I'm dealing with in a year if it lays around. So now I'll get my paint marker. So that belt's got just over 1,100 kilometers on it. Cool. So now this is going to go back into the storage container as a backup. Okay. So now we have this brand new, nice OEM, made in the USA, Polaris belt. Merca.
Merkin belt.
So before we slap this on, a few tips, or not tips, but a few statements. In the past, with my experience with various other vehicles, mostly ATVs, because I've only owned Polaris side-by-sides. Both older Polaris models, Kawasaki's, Can-Am's, a lot of the machines, so many people only swear by the stock OEM belts, saying that they're the best. I've been starting to hear people make statements that the Dayco belts are a comparable quality to the OEM belt. This OEM belt costs $300 Canadian. A Dayco belt that is arguably what people are saying is comparable, if not the same as this belt, is about $100. That is a huge difference. So needless to say, I'll be putting this OEM belt on right now, but the next belt I do try will be an aftermarket belt. I got to see for myself whether they hold up. In the past, I've been disappointed with aftermarket belts, but belt technology has re-evolved. There's a lot of good word I've heard about the Gates high-end belts, like their higher-end belts, the performance lines. So I'd love to try a Dayco belt. I'd love to try a Gates belt and see how it holds up, because this one really, really hits the pocketbook hard. I mean, at $300, and I have to replace this every 1,000 kilometers. I mean, oh man, I don't even want to break that down. That's like per kilometer money.
Yeah, a couple extra dollars on top of
Extra cents every kilometer.
Yeah, on top of everything
on top
else.
Of fuel and
Yeah.
insurance and payments and
Don't forget food. Delicious food.
fuel.
Human fuel.
So now we're gonna proceed with the reverse of the removal, and we're gonna pop this belt on here. Now, if memory serves me correctly, we're gonna pop it onto the primary first. So this is the primary clutch. The primary clutch here connects to the crank of the engine. This here is the secondary clutch. This connects to the transmission inside the vehicle. The belt acts as the medium which connects the crank to the tranny. So, crank, engine power. Tranny takes engine power, converts it to movement. This makes it all happen. This is probably one of the most high-tech parts on this machine. So slide it in there, jiggle it in, and jiggle it in the front there, like that. Okay, over that. Sometimes what you have to do is you have to rotate this a bit to get it in. There we go. So now that it's slipped over your primary, you can jiggle it over the secondary. One thing to note, if you're just watching this video and you're not necessarily working on a 2017 Razor Turbo like we are, keep in mind certain belts from certain manufacturers, even from Polaris, will be marked as directional belts. They'll have an arrow. You have to point the belt the same way. Now, if you remove this belt in 500 kilometers or 500 miles to do some service or to do some clutching, you have to put the belt on in the same rotational direction you removed it, because that's the way it wears in, stretches in, and everything. Just remember that stuff. It's going to lead to a difference in belt life. So now that, okay, there we go. Now that that's slipped over your primary, we should be able to just rotate it over the secondary. Okay, so now I've got it stretched over here. Do you have a see? So we have it stretched over on the secondary. It's on the bottom. It's slipped over on the top there. Now we're gonna hold it on here and we're gonna rotate that secondary, pulling this belt up, and it's gonna pull the belt onto the clutch itself. See that? Boom.
Good stuff.
Now, make sure everything's free. Everything's okay. Now's also the time when you're inspecting inside there. There should be no debris. A little bit of dust is okay. No dirt, no debris, no rocks, no crap, no leakage of fluids into there, nothing. It should be spotless. Ours is spotless, so we can proceed with putting all this back together. If yours is dirty, don't get the urge of pressure washing it or something like that. Get yourself some damp rags, some WD-40, something like that. Clean it up the best you can. If your belt exploded, and you weren't replacing it as preventative maintenance, then remember, there's gonna be shrapnel, there's gonna be debris in there. Get all that crap out of there. Inspect those clutches really well. Make sure there's nothing bound in them. Make sure they're moving in and out well. Make sure everything's rotating okay. If you see a lot of black belt buildup, like rubber, almost like tire buildup from like a tire wear or something inside here, then pay attention. There's gonna be buildup inside your primary. There's these move in and out. We'll link you to a video in a minute that I shot of how these clutches function when you're revving the engine and driving it, and that'll give a bunch of you an idea of like how quick these are spinning and what's going on. This has to be pretty clean. All this stuff has to be clean. I can't stress that enough. So now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna loosen this off, and you'll see that clutch will slowly slip itself back in there. It's going to start closing up on that belt. Okay. Might not snap back right now until it hits some RPM. Once the RPM hit it, this will all bounce back into place. What we can do now is to show you guys how cool this looks is we'll fire this machine up with the belt cover off, and you can see what goes on inside there when you're running the engine and revving it, and how much, I mean, this stuff is spinning fast. If this is spinning at the same RPM as your engine, it's directly connected to your crank.
Yeah, true.
Watch out behind you. Fire up the engine now so you guys can see what those clutches and the belt looks like. You okay back there, James? You ready?
Yep.
But there's no power going to the tranny right now. Once we get that belt, this will move, watch. It's starting to grab. Watch me hit the gas now. But it's in neutral, that's why it's doing that. everything seems fine. The belt's spinning good. So what this belt needs now is a belt being a wear item, being made out of various components, stuff as rubber, Kevlars, various other materials. It needs a break-in procedure. And in order to break in, a belt needs to attain a certain temperature, maintain it, and cycle it a few times. If you want to get maximum life out of a belt, which is a rubber product, just like if you want to get maximum life out of a tire, whether it's a track tire or on a bike or on a car, you have to heat cycle that tire, that rubber compound properly so everything can like kind of cook itself in. This thing's not done until it heats up a few times. That's kind of when the process of this belt being built is completed. It needs to cycle heat, or it needs to heat cycle. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go for a little ride in a bit, and we're just gonna go for a little like road cruise on some back roads, get the belt temperature up, do a few pulls, let it warm up, let it cool down, let it warm up, let it cool down, and then do about 30K like that. And then once we do that, that should be good for an initial bed in. And then what I'll do is when we get to the trails in West Virginia, for the first little while, I'm going to keep in mind I have a new belt, and I'm just going to take it a little easy. Once we get about 100K on this thing, it should be good to go, and we can lay into her. The last thing you ever want to do is slap a brand new belt in and then just go wild on it cold and just rip on it and see like, oh, I want to test my new belt. You're going to blow it up right away, or you're going to hurt it. Another neat thing to notice here, look. See these clutches? The clutching on the stock machines is actually stunning. Like, it's really good. You can see these drill holes are there to balance. You can see some of them are deeper than others. Like this one's not as deep. So what they do is they individually balance every single clutch. As you guys notice, this is spinning at the RPM of the engine. And when you're ripping down a trail at 100 kilometers an hour or 70, 80 miles an hour for 10 minutes non-stop, that thing's spinning non-stop. And it gets as hot as your engine does because the crank is connected to this, so you get radiant heat soak, so all this stuff gets incredibly hot. That's why you'll see a lot of guys running belt temperature gauges, and if you do a lot of tracking or a lot of hard high-speed riding, then a belt temp gauge is something you're going to want to invest in or look into, or a belt blower or something like that. And you can see some of the models we're using in some of our other videos. Razor Dave has a belt blower on his model, and he also has a few other upgrades like we're talking about. So stay tuned to the upcoming videos, and we'll probably be putting some upgrades on this machine to extend belt life and make this thing a little bit more reliable when we thrash on it. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to get to installing the cover again, and it's just the opposite of removal. Remember, our seal is damaged, but yours hopefully won't be. Make sure that seal is well placed and it lines up around here. Make sure this surface and the surface of the seal on your belt case cover is also nice and clean. Remember also, don't over torque that stuff. You're going right in, you're holding plastic. I mean, we're talking like 10 foot-pounds or something silly. This is the tool that Polaris is giving you to tighten those. This is as much leverage as you need. You don't want to go tighter than like a strong hand tighten. For the heck of it, why don't we try out this tool Polaris gave us and see? What I like to do is, see I've got some dirt there and there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clean all this off and wipe it so I know that it's clean. Next time I take that belt cover off, I'll know that every little bit of debris on that belt cover inside here and everything is from between the last time I removed it. It's not left over. And that's just a good way of me gauging what's been going on inside of here. So you have to make sure your seal is in there right. Mine's broken, so whatever. If yours wasn't, just make sure that's clean, make sure the seal's in there, make sure it's intact, make sure it's lining up okay, because your machine's useless when the belt's wet. A, it ruins belts, and that's expensive. B, it makes you stranded, and that's expensive. Okay, this is the hardest part. I think this is how these seals get damaged. Here,
Yeah,
personally,
people
I think that
wrenching them in
it's
there.
just so tight in here that this is how they get damaged, which is why in the past I've always removed it. So when you're putting the belt on, we've noticed that getting it on and off is the easiest if you drop through the bottom from below the vehicle. Once it's on, it only really lines up well one way. Once it's seated there, you can get your, oh, we can use this trusty tool from Polaris. Get these guys started. what I like to do is I like to start all of them, then I'll jiggle the case around a little bit to make sure it's seated evenly everywhere, and then I'll go around and I'll tighten them. As far as maintenance goes, the engineers at Polaris have done a stunning job keeping these machines enjoyable to maintain and work on. Easy, well thought out. They don't use all sorts of different odds and ends and sizes. There's only a few different sizes. Stripping this thing down is like stripping down a big race bike. You only need a few tools. And that's one of the reasons I believe as long as you maintain these, they have really good reliability. There seems to be 9 8mm bolts that hold this case on. If you guys are noticing in the background there, that silver skid plate you see, that's a full Rival skid plate. Rival plates are made in Russia. They're one of the best made products I've ever put on this machine. The fit and finish is just out of this world. This Rival skid plate comes with a 40-ounce bottle of vodka for the install, and 2 40-ounce bottles for the celebration after the install. So now I put all 9 of these on. I'm gonna just make sure it's seated. It seems to be okay. What they've done on these, can you notice how that's flexible? Yep. So they fiber reinforced these and made them out of like a more flexible, malleable plastic material of some sorts. I don't know what it is. It's some sort of fiber reinforced plastic. But in the past, these were made out of like a hard plastic. When the belt exploded, what would happen is the fragments would sometimes hit here or get stuck in between it, and they'd grenade the plastic case. So you'd have to get a whole new belt casing. That's something Polaris has, I think, improved on. So now I'm just going around one final time and snugging all these up, and then I'm going to go around and I'm going to slightly tighten them once I've snugged them all. I actually really like this little tool Polaris gives you here. It's the perfect size to get in there. Okay, we've snugged all these up. The last step is going to be to go around and tighten them. So watch, I'm not giving much pressure here. That's it. See how like hard I'm pushing that? That's all the leverage this gives you. That's all you need. That's it. Let the seal do its job. If you over tighten a seal, you're going to squish it out and it won't actually seal. Okay, those are all tightened up. Last step of this game is to slap this guy back on. Pretty easy. Oops. So sometimes getting them off, you don't need to loosen them as much as getting them on. So I'm just gonna loosen this up a bit. There we go. Make sure it's not kinked or twisted around. Make sure the two seated, because you don't want that thing popping off. That'll stop your ride pretty quick. Put your clamp back on. Tighten it up. Once again, remember, you're tightening this metal clamp with a rubber hose that's soft and malleable onto plastic that's flexible. You don't need to reef this on like crazy. just as tight as you can get it comfortably with a screwdriver. That's it. That's all you need. That's not going nowhere. There's a lip on both sides anyways. Key importance now, take these tools, put them back in your OEM Polaris toolkit, and make sure they're with you in this vehicle, because you're not changing the belt without this and these things. I mean, you could bring another tool, but you're not changing the belt without this. Thanks for watching, guys. Check out our other videos if you enjoyed this one. Check out our other channel, Adrenaline Junkie Prod. That's the channel we abuse and ride these on. And we'll be having a lot more maintenance install videos coming your way in the near future. Hopefully we'll be trying a new belt out too in the near future, so we'll give you an updated video with that. So don't forget to hit the like button. Please subscribe to both our channels if you haven't done so already. And also check us out on Facebook and Instagram if you have those forms of social media. See you in the next video.